to the second episode of Women Off the Clock. As you know, if you watched the first one, this is a podcast where we talk about the truth about running a business, about starting and growing a business as a female founder. We have nothing against men, but we deal better in female founders. I'm really, really excited today. We have a really nice guest. She's a lovely lady. She's an absolute powerhouse. I met her, I think, 5 years ago, I want to say. And she is a life coach, life and work coach, a career coach, specializing in helping you make changes that make you happy. She's going to tell you a bit more about this. I have done her program, one of her programs, and I can say it is life changing if you do it right. Let's say that, like all coaching. Her name is Alison, and she's here with us today, and she's going to tell you a little bit more about herself right now. Hello.
Thanks, Fran. Thanks for having me on. So
tell tell us a bit about you, what you do, and how you started.
So, well, today, as you said, I'm a career and life coach, and I specialize in helping people make changes that make them happy. We know whether that's from a career or lifestyle point of view, or both. So that is primarily the majority of the work that I do today. How I got here, that wasn't always what I did. I spent 20 years doing PR for technology companies before I hit a roadblock, or many roadblocks, and just knew that was not going to be my forever. But at the time had no idea what it was I might do instead. And all of the fears about leaving an employed career with all of the perks and benefits. But I made the switch about 10 years ago and haven't looked back.
And that is really nice to hear, because that's a big fear for people when we're starting a business, especially if we come from a corporate career. We fear, what is it going to be? What if I don't get any clients? What if we actually spoke about this with our first guest, Lottie, and we talked about how we need to find what is best, the formula that's best for us. And for some, that might be still having an income whilst we're starting a business. For others, it might be you need to jump, because until you jump, you're not going to put yourself, you're not going to put your energy into this for real. Which one was it for you?
So I transitioned. I did it the safe way. So I did my coach training while I was working full time. And then when I'd qualified, I started to build my business up in the background. So, it was very slow, and it gave me a chance to test the waters. So I built my little website. Like, when I look back now, it was terrible, but it was a long time ago. So I built my website, and I didn't really know what kind of flavor of coaching I was going to do and like how it was going to work. It was sort of it developed as I went along. But I started coaching in the background. So I was sort of coaching either before or after work or on the odd weekend. And very quickly it became apparent that there's only so much time in the day. And so I knew that I wanted the stability of some income in order to not scare myself to death. And so eventually I knew that what I wanted to do was go part-time. So be paid some money and still do part of my old job, but enable myself, give myself a few days a week to be able to develop this out. So that's what I did. I went part-time, and I did that for about 18 months. So, so I was working 3 days a week in my old job, and I'd negotiated a new contract, so I was working from home, so it was all a lot easier, and it involved a move to Wales, out of London, as part of a kind of lifestyle change that my husband and I made. And then I did that for 18 months until I hit a kind of tipping point where I knew I could step into this properly full time. And then I did.
Amazing. So, because this is a podcast about the reality of running a business. And and what is easy and what is not, and what is unexpected. And so I know you, and I know you must have done some planning and, transitioned, as you told us, in a way where you knew you were in control of what was happening. But even when we do that, things don't always go how we planned.
No, they don't. No, they don't. And as much planning as you can do, but ultimately, it was like, where am I going to get clients from? Is anybody going to pay me any money for this? Am I going to be able to sustain it? I'd come from a job where I was paid very well, and had a lot of the perks and benefits from that. And so it was like, how am I going to make this work? And so, it was not a straightforward, I just switch into this and here it is and it works wonderfully. There was a lot of trial and error. There was, I always call it, when I talk to my own clients now about when I've got clients who want to set up their own businesses in different areas, I always talk to them about, it's like throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. So I tried hundreds of things, and inevitably the things I thought would work, that would be like low-hanging fruit. I thought, so one thing I did do was email my entire LinkedIn database in the days before GDPR, when you could download the contacts from your LinkedIn. So I had about 1,500 contacts on there. So I thought, I'm going to segment them all and I'm going to send out emails to all of these people to let them know that this is what I'm doing, just as a starting point. And so I did that, thinking that there were obviously numbers of people that would help me, that would step up, that would share my details, that blah, blah, blah. And what I quickly found, which was a learning, and I share this often with my clients, is that the people I thought would do that didn't. It was just like tumbleweed. But people, but on the other hand, people who I would never in a million years have imagined would have responded or like offered me work, came out of the woodwork in droves. And I was amazed and sort of really shocked at how that panned out. But so that was just one example of things I did. I tested and trialed all sorts, and there were a lot of tumbleweed moments where I was sitting at my desk, studiously from 9 till 6, because that was what I was used to, where I technically wasn't coaching during the day. I was just trying to think up ways in which I could put myself out there and help people understand this is what I do and give people a taste and a flavour of it. So I did a lot of free stuff, a lot of pro bono stuff in the beginning, just to try to, get some coaching hours under my belt and make sure people kind of knew that this is what I was about.
Yeah. And out of all the things that we need to do when we run a business, especially when we run a business as a one-woman band, we are all the jobs. We are the marketing director. We are
team of one.
We are the cleaner. we are all of these things. And when we start, we don't always think about this because we're really excited about, I'm going to do this and this is going to be what I do for a living and I'm going to help all the people and et cetera, et cetera. But then reality knocks and there are all these things, including admin and books and doing your tax return. And when I started my business, I don't know about you, but I didn't know as much about how you actually run a business and your responsibilities and the fact that you need to keep your books in order because then on the 31st of January you need to submit a tax return. But also I came from events and marketing ground, and for me I thought I was really good at admin, I was really good at Excel files, I was really good at this, I was really good at that. And then 3 months into this business I was just like, why did no one tell me this? Why did I actually start this thing and I have to do all these papers and I don't know anything about it? And so what were the surprises? What were the things that you never thought you would have to do?
So for me, it was all on the technology front. So like you said, like the book, like doing your own books, doing, that kind of thing, because I'd come from the world of PR and there was a lot of admin and kind of organizational stuff like that you had to do. It sort of, that just felt quite natural to me. So that didn't worry me so much. But when it came to marketing technology, even though I came from a kind of marcomsy background, I'd never actually had to do it myself. And so, like, figuring out email software, like email list software, and figuring out how to create a decent website and set up the systems that, without having to pay thousands of pounds to somebody else to do it, because at the time wasn't earning enough money to be able to want to do that. I spent hours and hours on YouTube videos trying to work out how, from a technical point of view, how these systems worked, what was required, how I could set them up and integrate them, and then use them. Hours and hours of my time where I was like, oh, like this is just not what I want to be doing. I want to be coaching people. But of course, all of that stuff that surrounds and supports you being able to run a business and people being able to know about you was the bit I was like, ugh, if I could just happily outsource that to somebody, I would, if it didn't cost a fortune.
Exactly. We were having a conversation with someone else who came on the podcast, and she said something really interesting. She said, "Oh, they told me, if you're online, clients will come, but it doesn't really work like that."
No.
And like I was posting all the things, and still the clients weren't there.
Well, that's it. I mean, that's the other thing, is that what I quickly learned is that, and again, when you first start, I think everybody's got tips. It comes up on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn, and like, do these 3 things and you will fly, and a lot of it was like when I first started was to do with social media, and was to do with, you should be blogging every day and you should be tweeting, or whatever it's called now. And I was like, I've just come from that. I don't want to do that. Like, that's really like, oh, no, thank you. Not for me. But I was trying to force myself to do these things. And then that caused, and then the forcing meant it wasn't very good because my heart wasn't in it. And it took me quite a long time to realize that you don't have to do all these things you're told you should do. You have to find what works for you. And for me, the thing I had in my favor was my network. And right from the very beginning, because I'd come from a PR background, I'd met a lot of people. I had a lot of people in my network, and I've got, some really good relationships with people. I was able to utilize that to create, over time, a really big referral network. And so that worked really well. I partnered with a PR industry body that I now do corporate coaching work with and for, and training. And that worked really well. But all of the attempts at tweets where I was fighting myself trying to write things that I did not want to put out, and trying to force myself to write blogs that felt really like, ooh, empty and marketing-y, that like all of that went nowhere and was very painful.
Yeah. I agree.
I know for some people they love that and that's great, but that was not for me at that time.
Exactly. And as you say, some people love it. For me, I am not a bloggy person because I feel I don't like what I write. But you put me in front of a camera, I'll do you 100 videos in an hour. And
it's fun. And it's funny what you learn, because when I started, that was very much where I was at. Like, I just don't want to do any of that stuff. And now I write a weekly newsletter, I write a weekly blog for LinkedIn, and actually, because I've relaxed into it, and I'm not thinking it's a marketing thing and I must do it, and I've got comfortable in my own shoes. Now I actually really enjoy it, and it feels fun to do. But it was not like that at the start, I can tell you.
So that takes me to my next question, which is, I think at least once, if not 100 times, we all at some point have what I call, I'm going to go be a postman moment. My backup job is going to be a postman. This is what I'm going to do if Underwing ever fails. And these are those days where nothing seems to work, and we've tried 100 things and nothing is working, or we are fed up, or we are overwhelmed, and we just go, oh, you know what? Why am I doing this? And for me, it is, I'm going to go be a postman. Have got a back job. And
I got 2.
There you go. And what makes you think, I'm done, I'm going to go be, what are your backup jobs?
So my backup jobs, there were two. So in the very beginning, I mean, this is a backup job in my old career as well, where I was just like, when you have those days when you're just like, oh God, this is just enough. I was like, I should just go and sell flowers. That's what I should do. I should just do something that's peaceful and that brings people joy. So that was one. And then the other job that was always in the back of my head was, I should take people hiking up mountains and doing like outdoor, like, because I'm an adrenaline junkie and I love outdoor stuff. And so, I should take people gorge walking or paragliding.
There you go.
I think that's more for me than for them, to be fair. So those would be my two, which are quite different from one another. But
exactly.
Yeah. And what causes me to feel that way? I mean, it's very rare now, to be honest. In the early days, it was the sitting at my desk, just like watching as nothing happened and feeling kind of like, oh God, like nothing's going to work. Like, what am I going to do? How am I ever going to make more than £50? So there was a lot of that in the early days. And now, it tends to be, if I'm having admin days, so, as much as coaching is fabulous, a lot of work I do around it, I don't just coach, I also write a lot of notes in order to help facilitate the process for people. And so it's an admin job and I don't love that. And if I've got a lot of that in a day, that makes me go, I just want it to be done already so that I can get back to the coaching bit. That is the most exciting bit for me. But it's a necessary part of what I do, and it's where a great deal of the value comes in, like giving people stuff to reflect on. So, but yeah, if I've got a run of those to do in a day, I'm like, more admin than I would like.
I'm absolutely with you on that. I am the same. So I actually put on a process where I do it straight away. I actually do it then and then, because otherwise then I start procrastinating.
Mm-hmm.
And then it happened, and then it's Friday.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm absolutely with you on that. So if anyone who is listening or watching is thinking about a business or a coaching business, what would be your 3 top tips for like doing it right now, if they want to do it right now? But also, what would be something that you would not, I don't want to say warn them about, but what should they reflect on to make sure that this is for them?
Okay, so top tips. Well, they kind of combined actually with the warning as well. I think there is no one path. And I think, particularly if you're somebody who's coming out of a corporate environment or, like an employed role, our brains love guarantees, right? Like, if I do these steps in this order, I will reach this place and it will be successful. And the problem with working for yourself is that you don't have that blueprint. That, like, typically it's not like you follow a set of prescribed steps and it all works. And so getting comfortable with the fact that it's going to be a bit murky and getting comfortable with ambiguity, because that is the nature of it, and actually finding excitement in that. So, for me, I know freedom is my biggest value. So being able to kind of get up and go, I could do anything today. That might bring in business, that might not. But I've learned to find excitement in that, in the new, in the who knows what might happen by the end of today. So that's a kind of tip, and I suppose a warning at the same time. If you are somebody who is not comfortable with ambiguity, or gets very scared about, you'll end up in a horrible place. So just knowing that you've got to flex that muscle, and and we're all utterly uncomfortable with it at first. That's just the nature of it.
Yeah. How does one do it? Do you have any tips on that? If especially people, you're right. I think especially people who come from a corporate career, they know that they do their job at the end of the month, the salary is coming in, and also they know that there is a path to career progression. There is a path to getting promoted, getting more money, and getting more responsibility. In running your own business, especially at the beginning, I remember months where I'd have 3 clients paying me £100, and then months where someone would wake up and go, "Oh, you do corporate training? You go, that's £5,000," and I would just go,
yeah.
But then I sometimes will get stuck into the, how do I replicate this? How do I get more people coming to give me this £5,000? And the more I pushed,
the worse it got. Yeah. Oh, it is like it's the inevitable law, isn't it? It's the thing I think works the best, certainly for me and for a lot of my clients, is coming at it with a sense of play, because we're all doing this. Well, I think for most people, you're getting into business for yourself because you want more freedom, you want more peace, you want more joy, you want more life without being constricted and controlled and told where you've got to be and what you've got to do. And then, like you said, we get into it, and then we're like, ooh, and it becomes this stressful, like, how do I make this money, and how do I make this, this stuff work? And you lose that sense of play. And I think you have to have a sense of play to experiment, because it's in the experimenting, in the trial and error, because it's every time you try something, if it doesn't work, it's not a failure, it's just a learning. And you can apply that learning to go, okay, well, that didn't work. Why not? What could I do instead? How do I tweak it and try this instead? And it's in keeping on going, that is what builds the momentum and helps you get to where you want to be. But if you can come at that experimentation with a sense of lightness and play, it's a lot easier. And don't get me wrong, I have absolutely been in that pit that you talked about. When you're trying to force it, and it doesn't work. It just doesn't, because you bring a kind of negative, needy energy to it that kills your spirit.
I really like this approach that you just talked to us about, because lots of people say, oh, you need to remember why you're doing it. But the reality is, you always know why you're doing it. And you always know that if we're talking coaching is what you like to do and what you love to do and what brings results to your clients. But when you are in the pit, who cares? Like, I'm just like, I'm going to be a postman. I'm going to be so fit because I'm walking around all the time delivering letters. Not to worry about any of these salesy things and marketing things. I've got a red uniform, and red is my favorite color.
But it's so true. I don't know, for me, because I like adventure-y sort of stuff, I absolutely subscribe to Helen Keller's quote, life is a daring adventure or nothing at all. And I have it written up on my whiteboard up on the wall. So every time I get those pit moments, I deliberately look at that and I'm like, right, how can I make this an adventure? How can I make it fun? How can I just play with it and see? And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But at least I had a go. And like you said, inevitably, if you try enough things, something will give, something will work. And it won't be the thing you think. It'll be the thing that you wouldn't imagine in a million years. but yeah.
But funnily enough, I think this approach, not this approach, but this law, that it's never going to be the thing you think that works. I see working in so many areas of life and work. Even I coach parents of neurodivergent children, and we find strategies together, and then they go away, they apply them, and then they come back. And the answer is always, so we tried this thing and we were so sure we were working, but then what worked was actually something we saw on TV.
Go figure.
So it's fun and games, running business, isn't it? And the more we make it fun and games, the more I think we save our mental sanity. We preserve the fun, because I think when the business becomes just turning the wheel and making the cogs go around, this is when the joy goes away, and this is when you feel like you're just working.
Yeah. And then you might just as well be working for somebody else where they're paying you a regular income. So
Exactly.
for me, it's, I've also, like, I'm guided by, and I do a lot of values work with people. I'm guided by specific values. I have values for each year in terms of what it is I want to embody and kind of, through the way I work, through the way that I live. And that also guides me. So, on my list, I've got it on my wall as well. I've got things like bravery and
Yeah.
leadership and, play and stuff. So it just, again, it's like a constant reminder to me that these are the things I need to embody, because that's what makes me feel good. And if you feel good, you're going to come at whatever it is you're trying with more energy, with more enthusiasm, and it's going to attract people in. So, yeah.
So, if anyone who's watching this is interested in finding out how did you do it, or is interested in finding out how do they become your client even, if they want to change and they don't know and they're stuck and they just want to chat, where do they find you?
So they can either find me on LinkedIn, it's Alison O'Leary, or they can go to my website, which is livetrue.co.uk. And they've got, my podcast is on there as well. So there's lots of stories of people making kind of career and life changes that, have changed their lives.
Very inspiring stories, I might add. Very, and also some very unexpected, I would say.
Yeah. I've got, like I said, there's one client on there. It's one of the early podcasts. Of a woman who was a tax accountant working in the City of London for 30 years. And she did my online course, my career change course, and she is now an award-winning stand-up comedian. So, she's in her 50s and she's completely changed. And she sent me before and after photo. She sent me her old corporate photo from her days. From her old tax accounting days, and a photo now. And honestly, you would think they were different people. She was like dead behind the eyes in like a blue corporate suit and pearls. And then she's now got dreads. So she's got dreads and she wears tutus on stage and she's just like full of life. It's amazing.
Amazing. I love that. Absolutely love it. Listen, we've gone a little bit over the time, but it was a pleasure to have you, as usual.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much for being our guest. And I will speak to you really soon.
Fabulous. Thanks so much, Fran.
See you soon.
See ya.